Hi there, I'm Victoria with Punchpass, and I'm here with Claire.
Claire.
And this is Studio Life. And today we're talking about what to do if you're like, I love teaching. Should I open my own studio? Is it time? Is this my sign? Is this my path? And, we obviously we're going to be speaking from our experience, but we're also speaking from, we spend a lot of our days talking to people who have made that decision
Yes,
and what they deal with on a regular basis, and maybe what they complain about on a regular basis or seem to struggle with on a regular basis. So I like to think
absolutely.
we do have a lot of anecdotal data about this one.
Agreed. It's definitely a familiar pathway. Whether you take a little detour through, maybe teaching your own classes outside of a studio environment as opposed to teaching for somebody else, there's a lot of different ways this can happen. But for most people teaching something, they eventually have that thought of, oh, I could have my own business and be in charge and do it exactly the way that I want to do it, which is beautiful and noble and wonderful. But as Victoria has already touched on, comes with its share of problems. Challenges. I'm feeling challenges.
Challenges, opportunities.
That too,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And I would say that, like, I think if, like, of course, you can still teach classes when you're in your own studio, but that's probably no longer the bulk of what you spend your time thinking about. You're going to
True.
spend a lot more time thinking about marketing and
Absolutely.
advertising and the care of the studio and the equipment
Yes.
and, the
Cleaning,
hiring
greasing,
process,
toilet
cleaning.
paper. Yeah, the hiring
Mhm.
process
Paper
too,
towel.
you're probably getting there, but you're gonna be a manager, and I think that's a really important
Right.
one to be if you are going to if you have a studio on your own, simply getting a space, teaching your own classes, that's a little bit different, but I think more what we're talking about
Mhm.
here is creating a space where you're having other people come in and conduct sessions. You are effectively going to be a manager, and I think it's a really important thing to get your head around because not everyone can or wants to be managing people. It's really
Yeah.
challenging. So I think that's a big one to think about. You will be managing a team. Teams are great, but they can also be unreliable, unpredictable. People get sick. People don't show up. People don't put things away the way that you want them put away. So those can be really challenging things
Mm.
that come up.
Yeah. You might have to deal with like interpersonal conflict more than you would have
Yes.
as just an instructor. Like there are some things that can come up that, yeah, just don't necessarily like they're not usually the thing you think about when you do your dreaming about the studio you'd create and like the path you see forward. But like there will be some times where you're like, yeah, someone's frustrated because someone else does something with the mats and you do something else, and we have to come to some kind of agreement as to like how do we fold these. These are like it seems like little nitpicky things, but they those are the things that start to matter as you organize all of the people and the events and the classes that are happening at your studio.
Yeah, and it's natural to wanna do things the way that you would expect them to be done because it is, quote, unquote, your studio, unless you're doing it as a cooperative, which, side note, I wouldn't recommend. Someone has to be in charge, realistically. And, yeah, then you have to have all these sort of conversations with yourself about, "Is this important to me just because it's the way I've always done it? Can I be a little bit more
Mm,
flexible?" Like, where's the meeting in the middle point? And the meeting in the middle point, if you've got 6, 7, 8 teachers at your studio, there really isn't a middle point. It doesn't really actually exist. It's just a matter of are you going to tell people the way that it's going to be? How much are you going to take other people's
yeah.
ideas on board? But it's your baby, there's no way not to be.
Yeah.
You should be emotionally and financially invested in your studio. Otherwise, maybe it's not the right thing to be doing. So it's tough.
It's also one of those things where, like, if you're uncomfortable with the idea of asking people for money or networking with people, like going to an event and talking to people and talking about your business and talking about why they should sign up or check you out or or connect with you and do a group like an organized event together. If the idea of schmoozing or the idea
Yes.
of asking people to pay you is uncomfortable, that's one of those things that I tell people, like, you will be surprised at how often those things are a part of the studio owner experience. And if those
100%.
things terrify you, you can be an instructor. You do not like, running your own studio doesn't have to be the end goal for everyone.
Yeah.
But those are things that you want to be make sure that's something you'd be comfortable with because that will
Yeah.
come up.
Well, you're also going to need to be the bad guy in a similar way. You're going to need to tell people that you can't extend their pass for the eighth time. It's going to come down to financial versus emotional versus spiritual. If it's more, yoga side
Right.
of things, there are a lot of decisions you make day to day that you have to choose between the longevity of your business and its financial security versus keeping a customer, worrying about your Google reviews, wondering, when you can lean on your
Right.
policy versus being flexible and kind and human. And also with your instructor, if people break things or I was shocked, you would think I was a yoga instructor and everyone else taught yoga, obviously, which I would think people generally are nice, responsible, excellent, exquisite human beings. No, no one wants this up the thing. Well, it's true.
I
And
liked
no
it.
one,
No, I know. I loved it.
well,
It's real. It's real.
everyone doing beautiful things, but when someone breaks something and no one says I broke the thing, it's kind of hard to trust
Oh,
that. It's stuff
oh,
like that, or
yeah.
you need to sweep the floor after your class, and you go in after 3 days, and you're like, oh, someone,
There's a lot of hair here.
that, and it's like,
Yeah.
but I will say, just as a side note on that, don't overburden your teachers or your instructors with too many stupid old jobs they have to do either. But if you have an agreement, you
Yeah.
have an agreement. So I
Yeah.
think the part that I can't help but focus on during this conversation is the managing people part, probably because it's the part that I found the most difficult. And
Mhm.
when to forgive
Yeah.
people, when to be kind to people versus when to keep yourself
Right.
financially stable. That can't be underestimated. I don't think those decisions are really
No.
exhausting.
And you're right about like, yes, if you have a team, but even if you don't, you have customers and
Yeah.
customers are going to ask for out of pocket things. They're going to ask for some things that you're like, uh, you know, you can't like, why would you act like that? Now I'm in this position. I have to answer you and I feel very uncomfortable, but you do have to kind
Right.
of be the professional in that environment and that experience. And that can be super challenging. So like,
It
it's
can
definitely
really
a lot of things to think about of like, do I really want to take that on?
It can be a great dream for a lot of people, but yeah, I think one of the problems I think in the current environment is people expect small businesses to conduct themselves incredibly professionally at all times and operate more like a big business, but it's normally just one or two people, at the helm. And if you're getting a text at, 2 o'clock on a Sunday when you're, at the beach with your family, is your responsibility texting that person back or is it, do you know what I mean? It's just a really
Yeah.
having a small business still feels like a big business, I guess is the point that I'm trying to
Yeah.
make. So when you're
I
making
think
this
so
decision, I
too.
think it's important to consider whether you have the energy for that. It's not just about opening the doors and teaching a beautiful class and closing the doors and going home.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
But it can be so rewarding. Like, I
oh, yeah,
mean, like, I
right.
know
I'm
we've
just
talked
always,
about things to be aware
yes,
of, like,
yes,
be aware. But I mean, incredibly rewarding. And it's like, I mean,
100%.
basically almost everyone who talks about it is like, this is your baby. Like, your
Yeah,
business is something that like you thought of, you put all of your heart, blood, sweat, and tears into,
yeah,
and your money and your dreams and your hopes. And then like to see it flourish or to see it to fruition and where it goes from there is like an amazing journey. But like, and you're right about like it's your baby. I'm like, having a baby is very challenging too, and
that's
it's got
true.
its ups and its downs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's something to really like think on it, and not just the beautiful daydreams, but also the realities.
Yeah, and I think we'll do a flip side to this conversation where we talk about some of the ways to set yourself up for success and sort of drill down on some
Yes.
of these things and work on, give you some strategies for mitigating some of the issues that we've identified in this chat, and we'll help you overcome them. And then you can have a beautiful studio that will hopefully run very smoothly and give you lots of joy.
Smoothly. Absolutely.